Hi everyone, this is Dan. I am the writer and producer of No Space for Heroes, and I also play Paris Aquilla. We are about to start Season 3 of No Space for Heroes, and at the end of Season 1, we did an episode called Making Sci-Fi that I did with Liz, where we just talked about science fiction in general, and writing stories, and about No Space for Heroes, and I thought it was fun and I wanted to do it again. So this time I am joined by Ellen, who joined us at the very end of Season 2 in the very last episode. So if you haven't listened to all of Season 1 and Season 2, I'd suggest you do that before listening to this episode and before going into Season 3, which will be coming very, very soon. But without further ado, let me introduce you to Ellen.
Hello.
It's really nice to have you here, Ellen, on the spaceship. We're not in the spaceship, we're in my house, and we have some drinks. So Ellen plays a character called Ruby, who is, and this is the spoiler, so this is your last spoiler warning, but Ruby is one of the 3 versions of Dr. Haunt, who we've met so far, Dr. Haunt being the main villain of the series that we met in the very first episode, The Ghost, Season 1, Episode 1. After Dr. Haunt dies and comes, well, we don't know whether they come back to life, but their first kind of moment of consciousness, this is you, and you carry on from there. I did write out some questions. Why do we think people like science fiction?
Why do people like science fiction? The reason people love science fiction is it's the escapism of fantasy with relatability. People love to latch on to this very, very small idea or possibility that it could happen. Even if it's obviously probably not, especially in our lifetime. It could, and there's some amount of relatability because, you know, most science fiction writers will tie in some amount of technology that we know or some amount of like politics and world building that we know with what they're creating. It creates a relatability that like high fantasy, epic fantasy doesn't really have.
Yeah.
But it's also got the escapism and it's removed from us enough in the way fantasy is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. What's interesting about this show that I found making it is I started recording it when I was doing film school back in 2018. So I started it as part of a project at film school, and then I was using it to kind of learn about sound design. And at that point, I came up with this story about artificial intelligence being one of the main characters and exploring this idea of artificial intelligence. And at the time, whilst, you know, AI did exist and we were all kind of speculating about where it would go, where it is now in 2025, in 2018, that was fantasy. I think we've already come into a world of science fiction. It's just moving so fast that we are living sci-fi, which makes it very difficult to tell stories in it.
Yes.
When I started writing it and the main character was an AI, no, people were genuinely concerned that AI would take over, but it was something that was going to happen in the future. And now in 2025, that's something that people very much feel is happening now.
Yeah, but also the version of AI that you have in No Space and the version of AI we see now are so vastly different. I think that's...
Well, I hope so in a way.
Yeah, but as in, I think there's this certain...
No, there's no consciousness.
No, there's this certain... Yeah, that, but also, I mean, there's this certain vibe of AI that people always had in sci-fi films that I watched growing up, that we have even in sci-fi today, like with No Space. That's actually quite, for me, that's storybook AI, that is sci-fi AI, whereas the AI we see nowadays is weirdly more human. I think that's what's scary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it went away. that I guess so. Yeah, you're right. Computers. So from like HAL in 2001: A Space Odyssey, or maybe even going like droids in Star Wars. So that's more.
Or if you look at like iRobot, films like
Okay, so
iRobot.
iRobot, that's a dystopian
Yeah.
look at AI, but they didn't predict that it would be made for porn. Did they? Did they predict that there would be AI
Yeah.
girlfriends and
Yeah, that's literally. I no, that's not. Sorry, that's not in iRobot. That's in the film AI. Do you remember?
Oh yeah,
Or is it Humans?
Oh, with Jude Law.
Or the TV show Humans. Do you see that on?
I
Channel
did see that
4?
one. I like that
That's
show.
got a weird robotic
Yes,
AI
sex slave robots.
slaves type vibe.
But so what AI is useful for today is making really like cringe or suspect content on TikTok.
Yeah, trying
That's
to make
where I see it the most.
I think right now, realistically, AI is trying to make itself more human, whereas
AI is not trying to do anything.
no,
We're just
no,
using.
AI is not. As in, we're trying to make AI, or not.
We're trying to use it to make. Well, people are trying to use it to make
Yeah.
money.
People are, and to do that, they're trying to make it more human. But I think in media, such as like films we grew up watching, sci-fi films we grew up watching,
Yeah.
and even No Space for a Point, they're looking at AI from a bigger, more from the AI's world domineering above all the human kind of things.
Yeah. We're not at that point yet, but we are at the point of humans using AI to screw over other humans. That's what people are worried about.
Yeah.
They're worried about it in the creative space. They're worried
Yeah.
about generative art. They're worried that you could make an audio drama or a film completely out of AI and people could lose their jobs. But and that is a real possibility. Though I think what's going to happen is that the human part of creativity is going to become really valuable in the next couple of years, that people just won't, they will eventually make, if they haven't already, the first feature film that's all AI. And it will be a gimmick, and I don't think people will be interested in it beyond that. And that I think people there'll be a wave of people wanting to go to live concerts, wanting to see like hand-drawn art. I think there's going to be a backlash to it.
I think you can already see it. I don't know. I have online saying the word AI leaves a sour taste in people's
Mouth, yeah.
It's showing other
But
people.
I think AI, that we were talking about it earlier with Katrina, who's also here. But I was talking about it earlier that AI, there are things that it can, like in medicine. Oh, I was in Japan a couple of weeks ago and I met a guy in a bar. And he works with AI, in particular in medicine, and he it's gonna, certain technologies that are going to be beneficial to mankind are going to explode. There's going to be like kind of a new boom of technology. That's a positive thing.
I do agree with that. I think the issue is that too many people don't understand or know. Even myself, I don't really know.
We don't know
the exact differences between, like, people talk about Gen AI and, like, I don't know, any other AI. This is what I mean. I don't even know myself. But Gen AI is when people were making, like, writing books with AI, right? Like creating paintings and so that's just doesn't make any logical sense when you look at.
But the value of a book or a painting is the humanity in it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why people see it as bad. But then people confuse that AI with other forms of AI that can help in more scientific subjects or more academic subjects.
In a way, it's just a tool. And, every time there's been a big jump in technology, people have been afraid of it, and people have been afraid.
That's true. That's true.
It's kind of similar here. I think it will be good and it will be bad, but it is here, and we gotta deal with it. But in terms of the type of AI that exists in, I guess, No Space for Heroes and things like other sci-fi, iRobot, it's a different question.
I think they look at more the kind of academic or intelligent side of AI rather than the.
Well, if it develops consciousness, if it takes on other form of humanity, that's scary. But why would we be scared of AI if it becomes more human? Why would we be scared of it more than we are of humanity already? because, the most evil beings that have ever been on this planet that we've encountered are human.
Yeah, but-
So why would we be more scared of...
Because uncanny valley, right? It's the same as the uncanny valley effect.
Hmm.
You don't, right? If you saw like a doll, like a life-size human doll in the street that turned around, or like not necessarily a doll, but a doll-looking person, someone who looks like a doll, they turn around and just stare at you in a dark street, and then at the same time you see a man who looks exactly like this doll type person turn around and stare at you in the street. Both are creepy. You will obviously find the doll creepier because that's not a person. Why is it doing it that? Why is it acting
So it's something
like that?
you don't understand.
It's just this uncanny valley of why is something that's not human acting too human. It freaks people out.
We're worried about people taking our...
I don't think we're consciously worried about people taking our likeness. I think it's just a natural instinct. Lots of people theorize on why the uncanny valley effect is a thing. People say it's like a survival instinct that we grew up with. Some people like to believe it's a supernatural paranormal thing that's built into us. I just think that AI, especially like Gen AI, when it's trying to imitate art, which is a human thing, and it obviously can't in an actually human way, I think the reason that freaks us out more than AI being used for academic reasons is because it's giving this uncanny valley effect where it's trying to be human, trying to appear human, but obviously can't, and there's just something about that that's unnerving.
So Dr. Haunt,
Yes.
your character, was a human who has used artificial intelligence, technology, to survive beyond death. Is that scary?
Yeah, because I'd argue the reason that's so horrifying is because people have often when considering the idea of uploading your consciousness, for example, into a robot, into a computer, blah, blah, the reason it's always presented as a bad thing in media, or the reason people always argue that's a bad thing, is because you fundamentally lose your humanity. Like, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Obviously, this is not something that's actually happened, so we don't actually know. But the reason people don't like it, it's seen as a bad thing in media and seen as like the villainous thing in media, is because I think people see it as losing your humanity.
Do you think like part of humanity is the fact that you're going to die?
Yeah.
So if you found a way to achieve immortality, you're no longer human. Is that scary?
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people would think that. I can't say for sure. I don't know because I'm not that smart. But I think a lot of people would think that. I think that's a natural instinct. If I think about it deeper, that's when I go, oh, I'm not sure.
If you found a way to live forever,
yeah,
would you not feel human anymore? Would you feel like a different being?
Well, I don't know. Because
I've
done it.
Just imagine it.
But I genuinely don't know because I've not done it. But I know that is the basis for a lot of plots of books, films, TV shows.
Yeah.
Whatever, like even philosophical theories and thoughts, that's the basis for a lot of those. So there's obviously a reason we keep coming back to that question. There's obviously some kind of weight in that. So I think a lot of people see that as the loss of humanity, this loss of like ending and this existential crisis about death and blah blah blah.
That makes us human?
I think.
Do you think that's a good part of our existence?
I don't know, but I think a lot of people do.
Dr. Haunt, your first, I can't quite remember, but your first words, one of the first things you say is, "Do I exist?"
Mine or Dr. Haunt's?
No, I don't know what your first words were. Were they... I could believe that your first words were "Do I exist?" Not like "Gaga Goo Goo" or something, but like... No,
like my version of Dr. Haunt is what I mean.
Ruby.
My
But
iteration.
so Dr. Haunt was played by David Tremaine brilliantly.
Yeah.
He gets shot by Becky, and that's in the first episode. And then the last episode of season 2, we go back to that time, and we go into this kind of computer world, I guess, where your version of Dr. Haunt is born.
Yeah, it's like my point of view of it.
And it's your point of view, and you sound kind of childlike. It's like being born again, and you're questioning everything, and you don't see anything. You're kind of you're looking around. You're like a baby. You look around and you're trying to hear sounds and see things. You're kind of experimenting with your. And you're quite sweet. You're quite sweet for about 5 minutes, and then Dr. Horn remembers and starts plotting the end of the end of the galaxy.
I mean, yeah, like a baby, but also a super smart baby, because I don't think many babies go, do I exist?
Do you think your character, because I've written it in a vague way, when you're playing the character, do you what do you think? Do you think you exist?
Oh, that's a good question. So when I read that monologue first time, so when we recorded the end of season 2, we were originally going to just record the song, and then you just kind of handed me the monologue to also read. And so I had listened to season 2 and season 1, so I knew the story, and you obviously explained to me what my character was, so I knew that much, but I didn't have time to think about any kind of deeper thing other than the character I knew and the context that I knew. But so in that case, it was just naivety.
Well, that might be a good thing, because when the character comes back to life, they know nothing.
Yeah, no, but exactly, because you were saying like it's kind of this like innocence and like almost like this character's.
But now you've had a lot of time to think about it, when we're actually partway into season 3, and what do you think is Dr. Haunt's problem?
He's got issues. Well, this is the thing. I understand, like, the way I've seen my character.
Yeah, you say that, because I'll tell you what I'm thinking when I'm writing it.
I don't see. I see Dr. Haunt's intentions and I see Dr. Haunt's motivations, but I don't see it as Dr. Haunt, because, kind of going back to what we said earlier, I see this death of the actual human, and whether or not the subconscious was re-uploaded, I see this as a different character entirely, because of this loss of humanity. That even if Ruby is trying to find a humanity, trying to ask these questions that are very human, philosophical questions, it's not the same as a lived person asking these questions after living, as it is as it is like Ruby being born and immediately asking the questions without the experience.
I think that's their problem. I think they're freaked out, because I think any time that they we can ask questions about ourselves, but we have all of us as humans are living the same experience to a certain extent. Obviously, we have vastly different experiences, but we're all born and we all die.
Yeah.
That's that, and there's some comfort in knowing that, unless you go really, you believe we live in the Matrix, that who knows, maybe we do. But let's say Ruby is in the No Space universe a new creation. And they've done this, or they were created to try and cheat death. But they don't know if they're alive, because they are new.
Yeah,
they don't know what they are. That's terrifying to them. And so this is something we're going to see in season 3. The only other entity that they know about that might be able to give them clues to whether they are even a thing, whether they exist or not, is Blue. Because Blue was the experiment created in order to achieve immortality. So that's why they're going to get locked into Blue.
No, I agree with that. I will also say that when I was playing it, or reading it rather, what kind of added on to that, the whole thing you were talking about being scared and freaked out, for me came across because I was thinking of a point of view where usually when you ask all these big questions, you have had time to grow and slowly get used to this level of intelligence and these questions, and they've gone from small to big, right? That's what people do when they grow up. They start asking bigger and bigger questions. But from the very first lines that Ruby was saying, like you mentioned earlier, it was big questions. And imagine being born with this awareness.
Yeah, that's
being
scary.
Born with this, yeah, because I mean, self-awareness can, I don't know, it freaks me out sometimes. Sometimes like, oh, shut the fuck up, Ellen. Like, stop thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the idea of being born and trying to learn everything all at once, but being super aware about all that.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's terrifying. And that's kind of the kind of point of view that I was coming from.
Yeah, but this is quite a nice way to look at Dr. Haunt / Ruby.
Yeah, it's very nice. The fact is the actions
within
are awful.
a few minutes,
The actions become
they
terrible.
look at everything that they do see and they describe them as toys.
Yeah.
They say, these are my toys, I'm going to play with them. And then they see the whole galaxy and they said, I see a whole galaxy full of toys.
I mean, I suppose if you are that much cleverer than... Like, if you compare Ruby as a 1 minute-year-old to any other 1 minute-year-old in even this fictional galaxy, if you're that much smarter, you are going to go on an ego trip.
Yeah. Hey, Ellen.
Yeah.
What's your favourite piece of science fiction and why?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Why?
Easy. Because I just love stupid stuff. And it's not as in it's stupid in a bad way. I say stupid as in it's absurdist. It's very absurdist and surrealist in style.
Yeah, it's funny and it's got something to say as well.
Yeah, like for me, it's about saying something but making it so ridiculous that everyone can enjoy it, no matter how actually existential you're getting.
So, No Space for Heroes, the kind of philosophy behind it, I guess, which we explored in the 2 seasons we've done so far, is that heroes don't exist. I don't know if I truly believe this or not, but Paris Aquilla thinks that there's no such thing as heroes. He thinks that everyone should try and do good things, and you should do it regardless of whether anyone's watching. And that heroism is something picked up by newspapers and historians to try and manipulate people to buy things. I think that's what he thinks. Do you agree with that, or do you think that is a bit too pessimistic?
I think... but it just goes back to what we were saying earlier about whether being morally good is like a personal thing or an objective thing. Or
do you think? Yeah. Do you?
I think
it's absolute.
I think you can put for Paris Aquila, he is then therefore personally a hero because he's doing all the things that he personally thinks are heroic.
I don't think is he? Paris Aquila. Well, he's very lost in season 2.
Yeah, but as in he always tries to do what's best for everyone. He always tries to put everyone else first. He always tries to do the good, right thing, no matter what, and always tries to be peaceful and never tries to be bad or evil in any way at all. And he's saying heroes don't exist because they're always acting selfishly or self-motivatedly, and then he actively tries to not do that. He actively tries to always be completely unselfish, sometimes to his own detriment. So I'd say he's kind of acting how he describes a hero should act, but he doesn't believe heroes exist, so he wouldn't describe himself as that. It creates this weird thing of how can you say a hero doesn't exist because they would have to do this and this and this, and then he tries to do that himself.
Why do you think Paris does that though?
I don't know. Because I think he's the stereotypical good guy. One of those people who's annoyingly selfless.
Right, but see, Paris was born. Paris's family have their own planet, or they have their own moon, His parents run a weapons business. They are arms dealers.
Yeah.
And he grew up not needing anything.
Yeah.
So he decided to go and... he was a protester. He was very into all the causes on his planet, especially for the Mises.
I do remember.
The Mises. But it was very easy for him to do that.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. And he gave up everything. He gave up everything that he was entitled to. He went to join Planet Pole, which I think is probably considered quite disreputable in the galaxy. Probably like the police are considered here among many. But he did do that. So, yeah, I think he feels guilty.
Yeah, but
I don't think he's good for the sake of... I don't think he thinks he's good, and I think all these things he does, I don't think he even follows his own philosophy, but he has that philosophy because he feels awfully guilty about his privilege. I think that's why he does things.
I know what you're saying. I'm not saying he's trying to be a hero. I don't think he's trying to be a hero.
I
think he's inadvertently becoming his own definition of a hero, which then disproves his own definition.
But in the story of No Space for Heroes, the people who think they're heroes are usually evil. Not always, but when they ever achieve heroism, to a certain extent, they immediately die.
That's mean. Why did you do that?
I don't know why I did that. I think it's because all these characters, I want them to be... I always want them to have a flaw. If they ever run out of a flaw, they die.
You don't want people to be able to relate to an actual just good person.
No,
or relate to the good person who's a
no,
hero.
because there are great stories like Lord of the Rings. You know, you've got characters who are just good.
Yeah.
You know, Tolkien.
Do you though?
Gandalf's not bad, is he?
Well, sometimes he's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, he's wisecracking, but Frodo's not bad. You know, he has weaknesses, but he perseveres through them.
Yeah.
All these characters.
You could do that without killing them, though.
No, but but Tolkien doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
Well, he does kind of. He goes off on the boat. Yeah. But but that's all about sacrifice.
Yeah.
I think No Space for Heroes is a bleaker. Is it anyone who... I'm trying to think. So who claims that they're a hero? In the first season, King Geo believes he's a hero.
And then so does his daughter.
She doesn't believe she's a hero.
No, but she tries to be a hero. She tries to save her. She says, "Oh, I'm only doing X, Y, Z because I need to save my people."
She does, but I don't think she thinks that she's special because of it.
I don't think she's the type of character who's arrogant enough to think they're a hero.
But that's why she doesn't die.
She's technically acting heroic.
He thinks he is a hero. His last words are, I am this planet's greatest hero," and then he gets his head cut off. The other person who...
So do you think that the whole I'm a hero kind of thing is an arrogance thing rather than a actual based on actions thing?
I think that doing... What this is it. What is heroism? Because
I would say it's actions. But then you're saying that everyone who think... Well, you're saying...
heroism is an action. But what is a hero? Because is that someone who is... And if we're not talking about Marvel heroes here, or superheroes, what is a hero? If you did one good action, and so the newspaper might call you a hero, does that make you a hero for life? What if you do one good action, one heroic action, and then the rest of your life, you act like trash? Like, are you still a hero?
Becky a lot. She has good actions, but then she's mostly trash.
Yes, and I think Becky wants to be a hero.
Yeah.
More than anything.
But also, even if you said, because I was about to say a hero is someone who intends to, is trying and intends to act heroically, but then that would argue that the king of Geosphere was a hero because he intended to act heroically.
because
But I don't. That's the thing. I don't agree with that. So I don't agree with myself.
well, that's
then.
subjective then. What is but
That's the question,
Paris
really.
says that heroes don't exist. That a heroic action would be to try and help other people, maybe even to the detriment of yourself, maybe sacrificing something to help other people. And he says that's something we should all strive to do if we can.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have to build statues to people.
No, I think, I guess, if I had to make a definition of it, a hero would be someone who intends to act heroically and successfully does, but then also based on other people's opinions. I'd say it's a mix between this self-perception type of thing, of self-perception of what is morally good, and then on top of that, I'd say it's outside perception of what is good and bad. I think if you have both, if you're intending to act on your own good intentions, and then other people say you acted good, then you could be classified as a hero.
What is your favourite episode of No Space for Heroes?
Oh, I was thinking about this earlier. The Village.
The Village?
The Village.
That's
is
such
my
an obscure
favourite
episode.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I think that one has the lowest listens for some reason.
Really?
I think people, but it doesn't make any sense because people listen to them in order, and I think
Yeah.
for some reason
They just
they
don't really-
just skip that one. Why do you guys skip that one?
Wow, it might be answered in my answer because I'll give you the reason. There's three
All right.
reasons it's my favourite episode. One is personally, like very, very personally, individually, I fucking love a bit of world building. I'm a massive Tolkien nerd for a reason. I love world building. I love padding out stuff. And The Village is like just world building galore. It gives you a lot of information very quickly about just stuff to do with where you are and who you're meeting and their backstory. And I personally love that. It's
It
just
humanizes, well, I guess not humanizes, but it, I guess, gives more to the Geonites than just insects or monsters, which is what Becky's point of view was.
And then going on to my second point, like in terms of like storyline of the entire series, this is the first time we stop and take a good in-depth look, like for nearly the whole episode, about where we are and who we're with. Because up till then, especially because this is season 1 and the episodes were like a bit shorter, and also because it's first season of a brand new thing, you tend to have to do shorter episodes just for like, reasons.
To get people to keep
Yeah,
listening.
get people to keep listening, but also it's your first time making something like this, blah, blah, blah. But also, because of that technical need to do shorter episodes, and also because you're doing shorter episodes, you have to include a lot of plot and a lot of character very quickly. So when you listen to season 1, first episode, this happens, second episode, this happens, third episode, this happens. And like every single episode, there's a whole story arc within it, which is good. That's exactly how it should be.
So in The Village, nothing happens.
Exactly how it needs to happen. No, that links to my third
Hestia
point.
dies.
That links to my third point. It's not that nothing happens. But for the first time, you do kind of get to stop, and rather than rushing through and not rushing through, because you're not rushing through, but rather than moving through plot and moving from one place to another, you get to stop in one place. And it's like, I think it comes at the perfect point in the series where you've had this and this and this, and you've been introduced to this and this and this. You've gone from here to here and then here to here. And then for the first time, you stop and you just stay where you are. And it's like you look around and look, where am I? Who am I with? And you learn a lot about that. I think it's really nice, A, as a personal, I love world building, but B, I think it's at the perfect point in the series to give people that nice rest point to kind of stop and chill. And I think that actually helps kept people's engagement. Did for me anyway. Like kept my engagement, because rather than getting so overwhelmed by like plot and character and all this and settings, I was like, I got to attach and like latch onto and come to love some of the world building, which kept me then engaged moving further forwards. And then also it was done in a way where it didn't feel like, sometimes I mentioned earlier, like the reason I love world building, I love like Tolkien style fantasy and that kind of stuff. But a lot of people's criticism of that can be, it feels like unnecessary waffle.
Yeah, the first chapter of Lord of the Rings is a lot about everything that hobbits do, yeah.
And a lot about things that people deem unnecessary. Whereas I think, even though this is the episode where I think it stops and chills out.
Oh yeah,
and
they
gives
make
world
ice
building,
cream.
I don't think it's unnecessary, because even though it's not actively moving plot, as in the plot isn't actively moving for most of the episode, it is giving you so much in terms of moving character arcs forward, because this gives Becky Becky seeing all this as the listener does makes her whole character arc and journey by the end of the season make more sense. And it also makes you relate to Paris more than just, oh, isn't he a fun guy who's like so lovely towards everyone? You can kind of see his perspective on it by getting to know this world in a way that he always tries to. And I think it makes you relate to his character. I think it helps bring you along with Becky's character arc, so it's still moving you through and moving you somewhere without it being like a rushed, without it, carrying on this really fast-paced action, which the rest of the series is. So I think it's a nice...
I remember that Becky...
I just love that episode. I think it's great. I think it's very good writing.
Becky relates to Hestia in that episode. I think she relates to Hestia's bravery, and in a way, Hestia's heroism.
Yeah, it was... Well,
she sees a kindred spirit in that. Paris, I think, is the first time when the rest of the time he's very much like, we must be kind and thoughtful to everyone, and we must be considerate and consider people's feelings and their own point of view. And in this one, he has no time for Becky. He doesn't believe that she is genuinely feeling any kind of empathy for Hestia, which is, I think we see him in a negative side of him.
Yeah,
maybe there.
I'd say so, but I think for me, from Paris's point of view, yes. But I think for me, because the main focus is on Becky and Hestia in that
he doesn't trust
episode.
Becky being kind. He does. He thinks she's lying.
But that's what I mean. That's why I think that this episode really contributes to Becky's character arc. Because the reason he doesn't trust it, he doesn't believe it, is because this is her changing as a character. This is affecting her and changing her as a character. And obviously, just because she's going to change doesn't mean that every other character in her vicinity is immediately going to catch up. So I think that's why.
Do you think Becky has hope because Becky's not a hero. Becky is a deeply flawed character.
Yeah.
Who I think does strive to be good, does care a lot about what other people think, but in season 2 does really push to do the right thing. I don't know, because maybe she ultimately thinks that people judging her later on, she'll be in the right and she will get all the praise and the heroism. I think she's a very, very lost character, but she often does the wrong thing. Do you think she has hope? She's a very confused character.
I hope she has hope. Sometimes she does the right thing. Sometimes she does the wrong thing. Sometimes she's trying to do the right thing, and sometimes she's pretending to do the right thing whilst at the end of the day just being selfish. And I hope she has hope, because I think she is probably the most realistic character in terms of we don't even know what the right thing is. And whilst I think sometimes she's telling herself she's doing the right thing, we look at it and go, no, you're not. But genuinely from her perspective, I'm like, if I was there, would I be thinking about everyone else from this point of view? Yeah.
So in the end of season 2, where Becky makes a decision to...
Oh no, the end of season 2, I think.
But the end of season 2, so I wrote, it's a horrible... Dr. Horn puts Becky in a horrible position to choose her own life or the life of her then estranged friends that she
but see,
let...
That's where I think it changes. In the rest of the...
But what's happening... So Liz told me... what Liz said the way she thought about her character was, I think Becky thinks that Paris and Blue are in the dark and don't have a chance of beating Dr. Haunt, whilst Becky is in a position where she's at least aware of what he's doing. She has a chance to beat him if she survives. That's what she thinks her character was thinking. But in whatever way it is, she's not being heroic, and that's Dr. Haunt cutting the chance for heroism out of her character.
But even if she's thinking, oh, my friends don't stand a chance, that's condescending. Yeah, it's rude.
No, but that's her character.
Yeah, it's condescending and it's rude. But why does that mean it's not heroic?
To sacrifice them.
No, not to sacrifice them. As in, obviously the decision is not heroic, but I'm seeing the thought process of, like, I would still argue that
she's planning to win.
I would still, yeah, exactly.
But for who?
Exactly. That's why I would still argue that the thought process, not the action, is heroic. Because even if it's like, you have to kill them because they don't stand a chance, obviously that's not a heroic thing to do. No one would ever think that. But the thought process of, I want to find the best possible way to beat this villain, that is a heroic thought process.
Okay, from a certain point of view, I think that is.
It's a rudely heroic. It's an arrogant heroic. She's being very arrogant in her heroic thought process.
Are there different types of heroes then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because
Becky shoots guns. Becky shoots a lot of people, and she's in a way, like a old-fashioned kind of maybe Western cowboy shooty.
And they are, you could very easily describe them.
She's
as,
sassy. She's got some good lines.
I think trying to describe one character as just a hero or not is like trying to say, is this person like nice or not? Is this person this or not? Like, you can't describe a person's entire personality with one word.
Well, they'd be very boring, I guess, if you could.
So I think you can be heroic and you can be arrogant and you can be condescending and naive and mean. And I think you can be heroic and you can be selfless. And then I think you can be unheroic and you can be still arrogant, or you can be unheroic and you can be still like good of heart and kind. Like, I'd say maybe Paris is quite unheroic because he often can't make the difficult decision in the moment. He often can't in the moment do that really difficult thing to save people, and he would therefore fumble a lot of opportunities and times.
He might be an overthinker.
Yeah, for sure. And because of that, he ends up sometimes wasting time and not taking things seriously enough, and therefore fumbling things and making mistakes that mean his actions aren't heroic, but his thought processes, I would say, are more heroic, and his attitude is more heroic than Becky's. So they both have their own type of heroicness, but in opposite ways.
Maybe they're all heroes.
Or maybe none of them are heroes.
Maybe there's no space for them. Who is your favourite character in No Space for Heroes, and why?
Oh, it's Bash Jordan.
Is it?
Yeah.
Bash Jordan?
Yeah, but that's just because it's fun.
Yeah.
It was also just very entertaining to record that scene with Nick. Because I was just crying. Well, I was having to silently cry with laughter because I didn't want to loudly cry because we would have had to redo the takes over and over. But I was silently crying with laughter because it's not just the voice, it's the way he has to do the whole physicality to match the voice. It's absolutely brilliant. Like, honestly, props to him. Couldn't be me. I could never do that.
By the way, Bash Jordan is a big part of the beginning of season 3.
Yeah.
So
sorry, spoiler.
That's what we're talking about.
Spoiler. But yeah, it was hilarious to see, because for me, when I've done like acting jobs where it's like, physical, like you know, on stage or on camera, I've approached it very differently to how I've approached recording No Space. Because I don't have to worry about my physicality. I can just kind of focus on my energy on the voice. So for me, it's a very different thing. which is why it was just kind of hilarious.
Well,
And
Nick has to destroy his voice to,
but this thing, that's
to
why
be there.
the juxtaposition between me standing there with a very like kind of inner like closed physicality so that I could concentrate on like how I was talking, to then looking over at Nick who's like
Going red and like the
like,
veins are popping
red
out
in
and
the
he's
face, yeah.
turning into Hulk
Veins popping
Hogan.
out. I just found it hilarious, but also the scenes were just hilarious. The characters were very well written, so I do like that.
Thank you. So we get a lot of people. We got very kindly. If you want to support the show, you should give us a comment on Spotify. I think we're going to make a Blue Sky account as well, because apparently all the audio drama creators have abandoned Twitter or X, and I haven't seen anyone there for a while. But no, we'll put in the description where you can say hi to us. But people who have been very kindly supporting our show and have sent us messages, it seems that a lot of your favorite character is Blue. And, she is funny and sweet in a way, even though she was created by an evil scientist and has a bit of evil coding in her, does kind of...
She's a bit of a bell end.
She is a bit of a bell end, but she seems to be everyone's favorite. They like kind of the innocent evilness. Ellen, why do you like Blue?
Because I'm just kind of jealous of her. Like genuinely, realistically, if I can have a favorite character in the show. If I could be a character, I would want to be Blue, because I'm just genuinely quite jealous of this fact that she gets to ask the big questions, have the intelligence and awareness to ask big questions and answer them without all this baggage of lived experience and all this baggage of past interpersonal relationships and this very human thing of owing people something, because she's almost not lived long enough, especially in the first season. Maybe the second season is different, where she feels like she owes Paris, but in the first season she's not lived long enough to owe anyone or to feel like she owes anyone any type of opinions or behaviour or answers. So all of her opinions, behaviours and answers are so honestly, truthfully her, without any baggage, without any outside effects changing it. And that's just like... that I think is what makes her robotic and AI, but also is what makes me jealous of her, weirdly.
What's the difference between her and Ruby?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, it's such a good question. I guess just actions, purely just actions.
You were saying that you think Blue, you're jealous of Blue because she can exist without having to almost owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
Blue can make her assessment of the world and decide what she thinks is right and wrong without having to have lived so long. Is that what you were saying?
As in, that her assessment and her opinions and her answers are genuinely, truthfully her, because she doesn't have enough baggage for it to affect her opinions. She doesn't have... Except
she was coded by an evil scientist, and she has all this kind of hatred of biologicals.
She was coded to have XYZ opinions, but she wasn't coded with XYZ answers. And it's when she asks herself a bunch of questions, comes up with her own answers that are in contrast to her coded opinions.
Yeah.
But she can confidently say, my answers must be my truthful, honest answers and opinions, aside to my coding. And she knows that because she hasn't had enough outside input yet for it to get confusing and mixed up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Blue does tend to be very sure of herself.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you would be.
Yeah.
Not just because young people are like, more sure of themselves. Well, no, I think it is actually maybe the same. Young people are more sure of themselves because they've not had so many experiences of different opinions. They've not had so many people telling them what their opinions are or what their own opinions should be. So their opinions are more themselves.
Okay. Or they just, okay. So Ruby is immediately unsure of themselves when they come into existence. And this is a problem that continues where they actually need validation from whoever they're targeting as a victim at the time to force this victim to worship them, essentially, before they just off them. Do you think the reason why Ruby is like this and Blue isn't is because Ruby has the previous experiences of Dr. Haunt as a human being that has lived a fullish life?
Yes and no. I think Ruby is different because it's not just Dr. Haunt's opinions being coded into them, but it is Dr. Haunt's lived experience within them. I think that is affecting them, but not just because it's a full life.
Does that mean that Ruby is alive? Is Ruby alive? Is Ruby Dr. Haunt because they have all that? They've taken all that crap with them.
No, I don't think so. I think the reason it's different for Ruby is because Ruby has Dr. Haunt's lived experience of being very lonely. I think the difference between Blue and Ruby, I think the reason you see them differently when you look at them is because of their actions. Because Ruby immediately turns to aggressive, mean, horrible actions, whereas Blue just immediately turns to, like, as soon as they're both given questions, right? So Blue is, she immediately says, biological should be killed. I'm going to shut you out the airlock, blah, blah. That's the coding. But as in Blue's first active own actions are
Paris says, I'll play games with you, and she says, okay then.
Yeah, exactly. That's Blue's first own action is to stop, think, and do what she wants to. Ruby's first action is to go, I must be aggressive and horrible and mean. And I think their actions are what makes them different, but I think the reason their actions are so different is because Blue is just Dr. Haunt's opinions in a computer code, whereas Ruby is Dr. Haunt's lived loneliness and lonely feelings. And I think Ruby's / Dr. Haunt's loneliness versus Blue immediately having Paris say, I'll play a game with you. And Parrot's immediate openness and that immediate connection with another human being, I think that is what makes them fundamentally different.
Blue may have been created because Dr. Haunt was lonely. I never really thought about that, but that might be the case, and therefore Blue's kind of part of her purpose is to seek companionship was, I think, probably Dr. Haunt did not find what he was looking for in Blue. And I guess at the time, and now I think as Ruby, Dr. Haunt still hasn't found what Dr. Haunt needs.
Yeah, I think Ruby would be incapable because Dr. Haunt couldn't. And if Ruby is Dr. Haunt uploaded into AI...
I don't think Dr. Haunt was very human when he was alive as a human. I think he was actually... He had something lacking in his personality that meant that he did all these cruel things. This is what I think. And I think that the reason that Ruby may never be able to find the answer to the question, do I exist? Am I alive? Is not because she's an AI, but because Dr. Haunt as a human being could not have answered those questions anyway.
No, I actually do agree because I think that...
And that's why Blue's different. I think Blue can be human, if human's the right word, or Blue can exist. Blue can be real and Blue can be alive, but Ruby cannot.
I think the fundamental differences are Blue can connect with people. She immediately does. She's
Empathy.
Also immediately given the opportunity. Yes.
To, yeah.
Ruby doesn't immediately have that opportunity, but also if she was given it, I don't think she could, because that is Dr. Haunt's main issue. That was his main thing that turned him into the person he was. And if Ruby is supposed to be his personality uploaded into an AI format, that's a step even further away from human connection. How is Ruby going to be able to do that? And I think if you can't connect to people, relate to them, and empathize with them in that way, you can feel sorry for someone who can't connect with people. Like, you know, if someone's clearly like very lonely, for example, I can feel sorry for them. But if I go and try and connect with them and they respond by being an absolute cunt, sorry, I shouldn't say that. If they respond by being an absolute twat, I'm obviously then going to not like feel, well, I might still feel sorry for them, but I'm not going to carry on making the effort. And so that connection won't happen.
Do you think, so let's say Ruby is not Dr. Haunt, do you think there's a chance for Ruby? Do you think Ruby has a chance in the end? We'll leave it. This is the last question. Do you think Ruby has a chance?
I think we will have to see what happens in season 3.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens in season 3.
Who knows?
Thanks for listening. Season 3 will be starting soon. If you do want to support our show, the best way to do it is to continue listening to the episodes, maybe tell your friends. You can also leave us a rating on Spotify or drop us a comment. We did create a Blue Sky account. We don't have anyone on there yet, but if you would like to come and say hi, you can follow us. It's at nospaceforheroes.bluesky.social. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening to our show. This is something that we do in our spare time, as those of you who've been listening to us for years will probably know, because it takes us ages to get new episodes out. But the more support we get, the faster we can get more episodes out to you, and we're determined to finish this story. We love doing this, and we're so thankful for everyone who listens.